as of right now, I have the motor in. The motor's just sitting, not on the motor mounts right now. So right now I'm trying to get this CX Racing mount up into the transmission. So the CX Racing kit was meant for a T56 manual transmission. So I'm just kind of modifying the mount right now. See, I had to shave some of this off to fit around the transmission tail section, right around this area. So I'm going to be working on that today, and then I can get this reinforcement bar up and mounted. And then once I know where the transmission's going to be setting, I can install the motor mounts. The motor mounts have a lot of adjustability with different mounting locations, so I just need to see the length with the drive shaft installed and this plate. So I'm going to go ahead and work on getting this plate mounted up and all these bolts. I'm not a big fan of this kit, CX Racing. I ordered their full kit and they didn't send a bunch of stuff, and now they're trying to get me to pay for the parts that they're missing. So it's kind of a shitty company. I don't know, hopefully they see this and get their shit together. Who cares? You know, you're spending thousands of dollars on a kit. You would hope that they, you know, send the parts, and if they make a mistake, they're willing to fix it, but not try to charge me again for parts already paid for. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna work on getting that tail section done, and then we'll work over to mounting the motor up today. All right. So this is the transmission mount. I had to elongate the holes to allow it to slide forward more. It's pretty ugly. I didn't have the right tools with me to cut it out. Basically, this will allow me to move the mount forward about 3/4 of an inch. Let's see if this works. All right, so I got the transmission mount all bolted up. So these are the slots I had to open up a little bit. Same with this one right here. And then here's the rear mount. So you do have to drill holes in this support beam. So there's a hole here and then on the back side, and then just kind of find a bolt laying around. So 1, 2, and then 3 on the back. Mount up the bar. This little bushing right here. Yeah, so it's all, transmission's all mounted down, bolted down. I do have to finish up this bolt all the way up here though. That one up there. So now I'm just gonna put the motor mounts in up front and take the engine hoist away. This is probably the hardest part of the whole swap, just getting this mount made up to fit the Rx-8 reinforcement beam onto the CD09 with this mount that's made for a T56, but it works. So I had to run out and grab some hardware. Most of it is M12 1.25. I wanted 40 millimeter length, but the only thing Ace Hardware had was 45 mil. So if it is too long, I'll just run some extra spacers in there. And then I also got some motor mount bolts that go for the plate to the block, which is M10 by 1.5. I wanted 20 mil, but of course they only had 25 mil. So I'm going to be going, so here's the plate. This is the passenger side. Here's the stock location, and then there's another one right below this bar. So it's going to bolt, this is going to mount up, and then it's going to bolt up to the motor mount right there. So I'm going to go ahead and get the motor fully installed, and then I can get the hoist out of the way. A quick little update. I have the motor mounted. Just got to secure all the hardware. It's a super tight fit. I don't think this kit is really meant for the way the transmission size is, but it looks pretty good. I did test fit the intake manifold. I am going to have to hammer out this firewall just a little bit, probably about just a 1/2 inch from the way these mounting holes are. And then this ABS pump module, I'm gonna have to, the bracket I'm gonna have to move over a little bit so I can get the valve cover on there the right way. But yeah, looks good. That literally was the hardest part of this whole thing, was the mounts. Because it's not really meant for the position of the transmission motor, because that's based on the transmission and drive shaft length. So I'm kind of forced to be in one spot on that. But yeah, just gonna go around, tighten all the bolts. Everything's kind of like hand tight, finger tight. Even the transmission mount I had to loosen up a little bit And then yeah, so I'm tightening all the hardware this side, and the transmission mount. It's been a couple months now, waiting for parts. I'm trying to figure out the right parts to get. It's kind of hard to get information from some of these companies. One of the things I did have figured out is with the Nissan CD09 LS bell housing adapter plate. If you decide to run an LQ4 6-liter, the crankshaft actually sticks out further this way than any other LS variant. This is probably 7 millimeters. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I measured. We did some measurements for them, and they were able to make me a plate. So I'll take these off and then slide this in between. Basically, what was happening was once the transmission is fully bolted to the motor, the motor stops spinning. It just seizes up. So I think it's the pressure plate binding with the inside of the bell housing. So I had the motor in the car with the drive shaft and the transmission mount and the reinforcement bar. I had everything, bolted up and ready to go. And I was checking something, and I want to rotate the motor, and it just would not spin. So I figured one of the last things I really did to it was put the transmission in. So I'm gonna try to do that tonight. So this is the CD09 with the back spacer on here. Then this is with the adapter I had to get made. So I have this adapter on. The bolts do go far enough. I would like to get longer ones, just as like a reassurance, but these do stick out at least 5 millimeters. So I'll be able to grab some decent thread. I'm just gonna go line it up. I'm not gonna fully tighten all of them, just so when I go to put the transmission on the motor, I just want to make sure that it's kind of like going to center itself, since the dowels are they're not long enough right now. All right, so I got the new spacer in the transmission. It just goes right in between the bell housing and the actual adapter plate. You see this 6 millimeter spacer right here? It goes all the way around. It has plenty of room for the slave cylinder and the line and the bleeder. So there's no issue there. So I'm going to go ahead and get the bolts together, put the transmission on the back of the motor, make sure that spins, and then if I have time, I'm going to try to put the push rods in. I have all the custom length push rods and the rocker arms, reinforced rocker arms. So I'll go ahead and get those done. I don't have my torque wrench with me, but I'll just get them snug for tonight, and then torque them down tomorrow, and then torque all this stuff down as well once the transmission is bolted up. All right, just got the transmission bolted to the back of the motor. So I have everything all tightened. The motor spins over fine, so that spacer definitely did need to be installed. So basically any LQ4, the crankshaft is actually extended out more than any other LS. I think that's the only motor with an extended crank. It's about 7 millimeters further out. So it's one thing to keep in mind if you're working on one of these LQ4s and with any type of transmission adapter, plate, anything like that. So those definitely needed. I'm going to go ahead and do the push rods with the rocker arms. Just get everything snug and then torque tomorrow. Hey, real quick, just an update on my personal car, the E46 330 Ci coupe. So I bought another M54 because the M54 that was in the E46 was blown. But I also have a K24 Z7 from a 2012 Civic Si. I was thinking about maybe installing that too, but it would be a lot easier to do the M54, just kind of go over it. Maybe new head gasket, because I plan on putting a turbo on it, but we'll see when I go to build that. Yeah, just a quick little update on my personal car. So if you guys want to see, or even a 4-cylinder 2-liter MQB from like a Mark 7 GTI or a Golf R, I have a block right here. I could build, a nice little MQB motor and just run the ZF 5-speed BMW transmission. But yeah, so MQB, M54, or K24 Z7. All right, let me know what you guys think I should do. Drop that in the comments down below. So for the push rods, I went with a 7.425 inch in length and a 80 thousandths in diameter. These are either from Brian Tooley or Texas Speed, I think. I can't remember exactly where I got these from. I'm going to go ahead and dip them in some oil before I drop them down in there. And then the rocker arms, I went with the Brian Tooley trunnion upgrade, where you just press out the OEM bearings and then you install the new bearings with the C-clips and the big washers. And I also put these in a media blaster to clean them up, try to make them look as good as new. So I'll go ahead and install these as well. And I have all new hardware for the, oh yeah, here we go. This is what it looks like installed. I don't have the push rod in there, so I'll go ahead and take it off, but I got the length, so it has a little bit of preload, just a little bit, since we want this cam to really come alive. So the longer the push rod, the more preload you'll have on the lifter, which if you're going aftermarket cam, you definitely want something with a little bit of preload, just so you get the full effect of that that camshaft. So if you like, the best benefit would be with solid lifters and there's no flex and that camshaft is 1-to-1. But depending on the amount of preload you have with your push rod, you might have like a 0.9, 0.95 to 1, even maybe like a 0.7 to 1 leverage ratio if you're using the stock rocker arms. So one thing we can do, cheap way around that, is just a little bit longer push rod. Just make sure you measure your length. I have this adjustment tool to help me figure out the right length for push rods. Alright, so I have all the push rods installed with all the rocker arms. Put some assembly lube down the top of them, so hopefully as it sits, and get down the push rod onto the lifter. Yeah, this side, got them done on this side. Everything's just kind of snug right now. I don't want to go, obviously as I tighten them, I turn the crank to make sure there's no load on the threads. You don't want to strip the threads out as you're tightening them. So yeah, tomorrow I'll just grab my torque wrench from work, torque all these bolts down, and then I have new gaskets, valve cover gaskets, and the valve covers are somewhere around here. Put those on and just get the top end buttoned up, and then after that I can put the motor back into the car and figure out. I had an issue with the motor. It was sitting a little too high, like maybe half an inch higher than I wanted it, so I'm going to mess with the motor mounts. I think I'm just going to flip the mount 180. That should drop it down that half inch I need. Do it on both sides, and just so the motor sits nice and low to the subframe. It was just sitting a little too high. So yeah, that'll be next couple things, and get this thing, try to finish it up as soon as possible. Most of the parts are in, so finally figured out my injector issue. Had to send back my injectors twice now to Holly. Kept sending me the wrong injectors, so new ones will be here tomorrow actually. So get that installed on the intake manifold, and yeah, figure out the intake manifold issue. We have something going on with the steam ports and the bottom of the intake manifold, so I might have to shave some of that down and figure out how to get it to fit right. It's been a couple months of any updates on here. Motor's in, motor mounts, trans. So today I'm going to be wrapping the exhaust manifold. Started the other day. Just need to finish it up. Had it soaking in some water. Just get it expand up a little bit more, and then once it dries, I'll dry on there pretty tight, which you can tell it did already, and it's super tight. I'm just gonna go ahead and finish that, and then I'm gonna go ahead and finish that. See if I need to order more. I only ordered a 50-foot roll, so I feel like I am going to be a little short on the heat wrap. So I'm going to finish up the passenger side, and then go ahead and order more probably once I'm finished. I just got a whole bunch of new parts that I need to put on. Got the water pump, crank pulley. This has the triggers for the electronic power steering. I need to relocate the ABS pump and module, so I'll probably end up moving this down here somewhere and extend these brake lines. I ended up cutting a hole right here on this cowl panel to get the intake manifold to fit, and then to be able to run anything I need to back here, just to make some extra room. Have a GK Tech shifter kit, relocation shifter kit. The way the CD09 mounts in this Rx-8, it comes up a little short, so I'm gonna have to shorten that a little bit. Right here, I think it gets cut off like right around here, and then the new one gets mounted in there. I just haven't had time to start on that yet. Yeah, I have a whole bunch of new parts, so I'm gonna get moving on the exhaust manifold wrap, and yeah, get back to you guys when it's done. Alright, just finished up the exhaust manifold. It took a full 50-foot roll, 2-inch wide heat wrap. So this is on a, just one side of a V8. So basically, if you're doing a V8, you need 100 foot, and yeah, just divided by there. So I was able to go down. I did this side, finished it up here, came down to this one, came and did this one, and then this final one I came up, and then I started the wrap to enclose all 4 of them. I'm not going to touch it because the fiberglass, but yeah, nice little wrap. I'm going to see how it turns out, because I had the first 2 were wet when I did those, and then these 2 I put them on dry, so I'm going to see how they turn out. But basically these 2 that were wet and dried out are like super tight. I really like how they came out, so I'm going to see how the other 2 come out, which I already kind of don't like it. You can kind of see it bulging and stuff, so I'm going to see how how it takes, you know, once it kind of stays to the manifold. And then the other wrap, I'll probably soak it in water again because I like the way it turned out more than the other two, the last two. But yeah, next I have to install the alternator bracket down here. Set the drill and tap this hole. Just have to see what size the hardware is. Grab a bit for that. Do it sometime this week. And then just make sure I'm on the right spacing for belt, fuel lines. There's a lot of work, but not that much. Just have to keep working on it.